It's one thing to tell the troops that you support them. It's another to work at making them believe that you believe, as president, that their sacrifice is worth it, that the cause is just, that what they are doing is important for the country, and that they must succeed. President Bush did that with the troops when I was secretary. I did not see President Obama do that. And I said, and as I write in the book, it was this absence of passion, this absence of a conviction of the importance of success that disturbed me.
Bombshells from former Defense Secretary Robert Gates on how President Obama viewed our troops behind closed doors. My next guest served under Secretary Gates. He knows him well. Retired General Jack Keane, four-star general, former Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, and a Fox News military analyst. And General, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Bill.
Been a lot of reaction to that phrase, this absence of passion. But he also began that statement by saying it's one thing to tell the troops you support them, it's another to work at making them believe that you believe. What do you think of that?
Well, it's quite a statement. First of all, Bill, I worked for Secretary Gates on his policy board, so I was part-time help, not full-time help. But the fact of the matter is, Secretary Gates came into office having to turn two wars around, and in doing so, he found himself working for two presidents whose attitudes about war, Bill, were as different as their political parties. President Bush wanted to win, and President Obama simply wanted to get out, and that drives the attitude that those wars were something he didn't want any part of, and therefore President Obama did not reflect the compassion and commitment that he does about some other things that he's much more interested in, that we see particularly on the domestic side. And I'm convinced, having read Secretary Gates' book from cover to cover, that at times I think he was just seething because of this attitude that was reflected in his staff, in micromanaging the war, misrepresenting the war, exaggerating mistakes, and minimizing successes. And I think at times he probably felt rage about some of this. So that's why I think we have the book and why we have some of these strident comments in the book.
Fascinating response there. That earlier clip from CBS this morning. Here is more from CBS.
You have to look at the entirety of the book and the fact that it deals with getting into wars, getting out of wars, and frankly, it seemed to me that with the experience of and perspective of working for 8 presidents and having been secretary for 4.5 years, I didn't think that waiting until 2017 to weigh in on these issues and in a comprehensive and thoughtful way made any sense.
And that goes to a point where many wondered why he speaks now. The reason he has a neck brace now was that part of that interview was done, I think, before the new year, and then he slipped and fell at his home in eastern Washington state right around the new year. But he said he did not feel it was important to wait until 2017 to weigh in on these issues. That kind of goes back to the point you just made about festering inside of him and wanting to give a voice to his concerns, I would imagine. Is that my read correct?
Yeah, I have the same interpretation. And now he can speak for himself, and I think we're grateful to hear his motivation in his own words. But, you know, one of the things that truly comes out in the book is his love for troops and personal responsibility for their safety, signing all their deployment orders and writing personal condolence notes to their families while looking at pictures and hometown news releases of the troops that were killed. He embraced the emotion of this war and personalized it to himself and didn't keep it at distance. So I think as a result of that, part of the writing of the book is sort of a fulfillment of the responsibility to our troops and the sacrifices that they made. And he knows full well, Bill, that there's a year and a half of decisions that this administration has to make on Afghanistan. And I'm convinced he believes that they are defeatists in the White House advising the president. And they could make decisions similar to what they did in Iraq and force the collapse of that country. and he does not want that to happen in Afghanistan. He doesn't say that, but you can draw the implication of that as to why he's writing it now, because he's still trying to influence as a result of what's in that book.
He also had choice words for Joe Biden, the vice president, as well. Jack Keane, thank you for your time, sir. It's great to get your reaction. The general out of Washington. Tomorrow night, Robert Gates is on with Sean on Hannity, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. More then.